We get so many videos here from so many people around the world that sometimes it's hard separating out the wheat from the chaff. So when I saw this video out of Seattle, my first reaction was, okay, maybe I'll find a place to put it in a collection of other videos. Doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but it raised some red flags. We'll talk about that in a minute. It raised more red flags, and I'm glad I followed those red flags. So let's just get into the video real quick. Then why don't we actually do some inside baseball to see how we unravel some of these threads.
You at 11, a popular outdoor movie series suddenly canceled.
It's pretty surprising for this neighborhood.
The concern? Public safety.
Well, yeah, that's kind of scary.
Tonight we're looking into why organizers decided this park has gotten too dangerous. Outdoor movies have drawn a crowd to Magnuson Park during the summer for 7 years and were scheduled to run until the end of August.
But no more. People have been attacked and mugged in the park during the movies, and the head of the company is pulling the plug. Kara 7's Lindsay Sheldon spoke to him tonight and to people who were surprised. She is live at Magnuson Park right now in Seattle. Lindsay?
Monique, the president of Epic Events, which runs this movie series, says that they had to come up with a new safety plan. That's what they need to do, whether that is a big Seattle police presence and more lighting here or simply moving to a different park. But he says that takes time, and they had to respond quickly after what happened here at last Thursday's movie screening.
I just remember looking to my right, and there were like 4 cop cars lined up over there.
Alina Hagstrom was at the outdoor showing of Hidden Figures at Magnuson Park last Thursday, one of the weekly showings this summer. But she had no idea that a crime had happened until we told her.
Yeah, that's kind of scary.
We discovered one man posted on Facebook that his 13-year-old son called him, saying, "Dad, I was mugged at Magnuson Park at the movies," and that a group of teens made him take off his Air Jordans. And when he didn't do it quickly enough, one of the teens sucker punched him.
I never thought that would be an issue. I thought it was such a fun idea, and all of our friends were so excited to go to these things.
We checked and found Seattle police took a robbery report and assault report that night. By phone, the president of Epic Events confirmed that thefts and violence had occurred. He said, "We want these events to be safe and fun and family friendly." And we felt at this point with the situation, it seemed like we need a bigger plan for the future if we're going to continue to do events in that park. That means canceling all remaining movies this summer.
But they have a movie that we wanted to watch, or they had one scheduled for this week, and we were in fact talking about it right now, how we could make it.
Gerardo Pena and his wife won't stop taking their young kids to the park, but he says,
well, the fact that kids are targeted, the fact that anybody's targeted is not good, right, and kids especially.
Now, people we talked to here and who commented online were disappointed by this cancellation. Some were frustrated and said that the organizers should just charge more and add extra security.
So what'd you think of that news report? A couple kids got into a fight with a couple of other kids. Maybe somebody stole their sneakers. It doesn't seem like an earth-shaking event. Seems rather small. Seems isolated. But there were some red flags. First, Seattle. In Seattle, they love bragging about their racial harmony. They don't have any more racial harmony than other cities, comparable cities, but they do like to brag about that they do. And the second red flag was the movie. What's it called? Hidden Figures? The story of 4 black women, how they personally lit the fuse to the rocket that got us to the moon and brought us back. That was a red flag. The movie star was a red flag. Does anybody remember Taraji Henson? Yeah, she's trying to become one of these people that's just one word now, Taraji. She's the star of a big old TV show. I think it's called Empire. It was really hot. I understand it's cooled off. Never got around to seeing it. You know what? Just for the hell of it, we're going to get to this thing in Seattle in just a minute. Let's kind of remind ourselves who Taraji is and how she was part of a huge hoax that never would have been uncovered had it not been for body cams and car cams.
This video of Taraji P. Henson's 20-year-old son Marcel getting pulled over by cops in Glendale has surfaced just several weeks after the Empire star claimed her son was racially profiled by authorities. The 44-year-old actress recently told Uptown Magazine of the incident, quote, "My child has been racially profiled. He was in Glendale, California, and did exactly everything the cops told him to do, including letting them illegally search his car. It was bogus because they didn't even give him a ticket for what he was pulled over for. Now, the LA Times has obtained video of her son's run-in with cops. One of the first questions the officer asks is, "Have you ever been arrested?" He then asks Marcel if there's anything illegal in the car. Marcel willingly admits to having marijuana with him, but says he can't find his medical marijuana prescription card. The cop ultimately lets Marcel, who also admits to smoking marijuana earlier that night, off easy.
Like a 45 traffic, Brandon, Doran.
What's going on, man? Do you know why I pulled you over? You remember that crosswalk? I was flashing yellow and the person was walking by and you didn't yield, you just went right through? That's why I pulled you over, sir. Okay, just so you know. Can I see your driver's license? Fine. So you've never been arrested before, sir? Okay. So when I run your name, it's not going to come back that you've been arrested, right? I want you to be completely honest with me. Is there anything illegal in the car I should know about, man? Okay, I appreciate you being honest with me about the weed. I do appreciate that because I do smell weed. So, thank you for being honest about that, alright? I mean, and you have your registration with you? Okay, that's good. Just sit tight. I'm just going to check a few things, alright? And we'll go from there. I do appreciate your cooperation, though, man. I really do. Alright, sit tight. Where's the weed located? It's in your backpack? Alright, leave it right there for now. Just sit tight. Hey, man. What's up? So I'm just going to have you step out of the vehicle real quick, alright? Watch yourself. Step out of the vehicle and just go to the sidewalk, man. Keep your hands in your pockets. Alright. Do you have anything else in the car besides the weed that I should know about? Huh? I'm sorry? Ritalin? Is it prescribed to you? No. It's not prescribed to you. Who's it prescribed to? Why do you have it?
Because he gave me some.
He gave you some? Okay. You know you're not supposed to have that, right?
I do that.
Alright. Hey, what's up, man? Hey, so I'm going to give you a citation for the marijuana. Listen, I'm not going to give you a citation for running that yellow because that'll actually put a moving violation on your driver's license and you're going to have to do traffic school and all that stuff. So I'm helping you out by not giving you a violation on that. All I'm going to do is take the weed from you. You can go to court and show your prescription and stuff and you can handle it that way, okay? I don't know what will happen if you do that way, okay? But I felt like this was a little better than the other one. I'm giving you this too because you smoked weed about 2 hours ago. And my partner was about, we were trying to see if you were under the influence while driving. Don't do that, okay? And a warning, if you have Ritalin on you and you're not supposed to, don't do it. Okay, that's a big violation, and I wouldn't want to do that to you. All right, sign right here. It's not admission to go, so the promise to appear. No, you can pay this off if you don't want to go to court. Right? It's like running a stop sign, man. Except you don't get the moving violation, which is why it's good. Because you don't have to go traffic court, traffic school. So it actually helps you out just a little bit. There you go. All right, drive safe, man.
So that's Taraji. And the fact that it's a public movie means that, first time I thought, when I see public movie, the first thing I think of is Atlanta, where they had the same thing in Atlanta. I think it was called Atlanta on the Green or something. Every summer, they were doing this for years. Every summer, everybody would bring their little chairs and picnic baskets out, watch some movie up on some big screen outside. It was a very social family thing to do. And one summer, the fellas ripped through the park like wolves through a pen of sheep, beating people up, stealing stuff. Just like we just saw the other day out of Australia. Same thing, a bunch of the fellas, 70 youths of African appearance. They're having some kind of movie, ripped through the park, stole cameras, beat people up, attacked police, destroyed property, the whole deal. Anyway, this happened a few times in Atlanta before they get wise to it, and they said, hey, I don't think the fellas are going to let us have this fun family thing anymore without ruining it for everybody, and that is why we cannot have nice things. So those were just a couple of the red flags. So I thought, okay, we got a lot of videos here. Man, there's a lot of nasty business going on right now. And so I'm just trying to focus on the ones that are most indicative of bigger trends. Turns out this one was. First thing I did on these stories, of course, is you go to the comments. Well, the first thing I did was I went back to the film, and I said, stopped my video, figured out what Facebook page that was, went to the Facebook page, hunted and pecked around until I found what she was talking about somebody on their Facebook page reported that their son had been in something kind of scuffle with teens or whatever the reporter said. So I just hunted and pecked around a couple minutes, finally found the father who said that. And it was a hell of a lot different than what the reporter was telling us it was. Why don't we give it listen to the father's account of what happened to his son? This came just a couple nights ago from Michael Nall. Tonight, I received a call from my youngest son, Noah, who is 13. He was upset. At first, I couldn't understand him. However, the second time he spoke, it was clear what he said. Dad, I was mugged at Magnuson Park at the movies. Yes, while at the July 20th Epic Events and Promotions, Amica Insurance Outdoor Movies at Magnuson Park night. According to Noah and other witnesses, a group of about 15 African American teenagers approached Noah and his two friends. When they got close to them, they surrounded them and demanded that Noah take off his Air Jordans. And when he didn't do it quickly enough, one of the teens sucker punched Noah in the side of the face and threatened him once again with a beating. Once on the ground, they ripped his shoes off, and the youths stole Noah's shoes and backpack and one of his friends' iPhone. Noah and his friends ran away and called for help. The Seattle police officer I spoke with on the phone informed me that this is not the first time this has happened in the very same place, and that they, the Seattle Police Department, have received several calls from others about this group of youths threatening others in the past few weeks, though this wasn't the first time this has happened, and yet there were no warnings from anyone of this at past events of this nature. As well, what kind of security does this event have? And since there were prior complaints, why hasn't the Seattle Police Department set up a security sting team in Magnuson Park to catch this group of youths? Ah yes, the old sting team. A symptom of watching too much television, on parentheses. Anyway, Magnuson Park is not a place where violence or large groups of youths run around threatening or hurting people, especially when there is a public family-oriented outdoor movie event going on. I am still in shock that this happened at all, and that it happened to my son in a place that is supposed to be a safe environment during a community family event. I will be reaching out tomorrow to the police, the parks, the company who put it on, in an attempt to make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else's child again. At the end of the day, Noah, my son, is home safe and overall unharmed, although his jaw is hurting from when the youth punched him in the face. Shake SMH, shaking my head, unbelievable. Below is a photo of one of the wannabe thugs that assaulted Noah last night. Please circulate this photo if you can. We have sent it out to over 7,800 kids in the Seattle area via Snapchat and Instagram. We have gotten several responses and will have a name soon enough. Currently, the thought is that this kid goes to Roosevelt High School or possibly Nathan Hale High School, and is either a freshman or a sophomore. Anyway, any help is greatly appreciated. The circle is closing in on him and his crew. That came from the father of one of the victims. So, what happens when what happens when a witness comes forward, a victim comes forward and makes their case in a public forum in a case like this? When you shake the tree, a lot of other victims fall out. Here's a message from Kristen Nielsen. The same thing happened to my daughter and a group of their friends about a month ago at Magnuson. I have a video my daughter took of the incident if you would like to private message me. They were not robbed but beat up and their cars were dented and windows broken. Police were called and 2 of her friends ended up in the hospital. From my understanding, this group are freshmen and sophomores from Roosevelt. Here's another reply from Evan Owens. Some of Cam's friends had the exact same thing happen to them. And another person. I'd also like to point out that it's also young girls being attacked and mugged by this group and girls in the group. I don't know what that added, but she said it. Here's another neighbor. Wow. I live right there, and there's definitely been an influx of crime ever since they set up the low-income housing. It is unfortunate that giving people an opportunity to live in an extremely nice area with things like this happening. I was worried when I heard they were opening the housing up there, but I gave them the benefit of the doubt, and now I constantly hear about things happening. So sad. I am happy that he is okay and that there were no guns involved. Thank God. Okay, here's another story from Nanette Baker, who cannot believe these kids are still at it. There was even an incident that happened in mid-June, and 2 high school seniors were beaten by this young man and his gang. They were treated at the hospital following the event. The police said this was the 3rd time they were called, and they took statements from my kids' group. At that point, they stated that they believed he attended Roosevelt High School. I cannot believe this is still happening, and the group is not in jail. Video was turned over to the police. Let me know if you need further info on our experience. So sorry this happened to you and your son. Okay, so how many more victims did we get there? At least 5. How many more incidents? 5, 6, 7, 10? Okay, so, but after the violence, what comes next? The explanations, the causes, the solutions, the deflections. Why don't we read a few of them, because they are so illuminating. While I hope this kid can be caught and punished, wouldn't it be a great outcome if he could be shown the right path and become a productive member of society? # break the chain. And here comes Deirdre Green Hicks to the rescue. Yes, I suggest he be made to research and report on the impact of assault. The report must include the impact to the victim's families, the victim, him and his family. He should also be forced to visit a prison. Maybe it will scare the bejesus out of him. Ready for another solution? They need positive male role models in their life as well. And maybe we can stop these acts of violence. These children should have to be enrolled in Big Brother, Big Sister program, not a more violent atmosphere where they will be released back into society with more potential to do more harm to youth. Commit a crime, go to Big Brother. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so we got the pushback on the got the problem. We got the solutions that are not solutions. Now here comes the good part. Here comes the pushback from the neighbors and other people in that town who said the act of observing and protecting your family and trying to figure out who the hell hurt my kid is somehow a bad and evil thing that has to be shut down at all cost. This comes from Chandra Hampson. Please stop sharing this post. He is implicating minors, specifically calling them out by race and sharing misinformation about what youth are involved. I feel for his son. That's a lie. But his original post incited some pretty hurtful allegations and dangerous comments, including one wishing rape on one of the alleged youth. We need to ask for more specifics from parks and organizers. Those of us active in the community. have been expressing security concerns for a number of years. Summer is particularly hard. Resources are always an issue. But sharing misinformation about residents and conflating them with perpetrators, parentheses, who again are children regardless of their race, parentheses, doesn't help us gain additional resources. As recent events have proven, she said rather obliquely, those at greatest risk are, in fact, residents, families with children. Okay, that's the first tongue lashing. Here comes one from Kira Ness. Michael, from one Cougar fan to another, I ask that you please take down your post. I am so sorry that your son was attacked like that and glad he was not hurt any worse. And yes, that kind of behavior is not acceptable regardless of age, race, etc. But your post is very harmful and is perpetuating stereotypes of POC and especially of black youth. Oh, by the way, POC, that does not mean piece of crap. That means people of color. That's what people like Kira do when they want to pretend that it's not just black people. It's actually black, white, red, yellow, Amish, Eskimos, and everybody in between. Red flag. Here comes one from Lorna She-Her Murray. This is directed at the... Now, notice how so far we've got from the original story? How different it is now? However, the reporter just blew off all this. The reporter was looking at the Facebook page. She blew it all off. This is directed at the original poster, but it goes for every single person who has contributed to the disgustingly covert and overt racism that is rampant throughout this thread. At least now I know firsthand how lynch mobs work. It seems to all start with a lie. First about something one kid did, then the others are associated. If you can't get to him, you'll get to someone that resembles him, right? Now let's smear a whole community and say a violent roving gang is allowed to beat and rob. Next thing you know, here you are all justifying or ignoring the calls for violence and rape against a child. Utterly disgusting. Let's go back to Lorna She-Her Murray because she didn't really give us her defense of the criminals was not as resounding and ringing of an endorsement as she wanted. So let's give her another crack at the bat. This person does not live at Sandy Point Family Housing. That's the public housing. In fact, no one by that name lives here. I live here. I am heavily involved with the children who live here. I have a 15-year-old African-American son, and I have never seen this person in your post ever in my life. Although it both saddens and angers me that your child was a victim of robbery and violence, this is no excuse to stereotype the children who actually do live here, then associate them with this criminal behavior. This is the way people used to talk before videos, before cameras. So this person is just kind of like hoping that we ignore the fact that there are lots of videos, victims, witnesses, and all that other stuff. Sorry for the editorial comment. Let's get back to Lorna She-Her Murray. They have enough problems. Also, it is ignorant and reckless to associate this child with kids who reside here. I wonder how you jump to that false conclusion. Well, people jump to that conclusion because, the way it works now, a kid goes from granny to mom to aunt to uncle back to granny. I mean, that kid could be living in 5 places at once. It's a little bit chaotic if you catch my drift, Lorna. I wonder how you jump to that false conclusion. Since we do not all look alike, now I can post your name and picture to share with my neighbors so they know to be on the lookout for specific people who have basically lumped their children in with a violent gang of muggers. It's disgraceful to steal from people. It's disgraceful to rob people. It's also disgraceful to publicly smear a whole community of children with false allegations. Shame on the thieves, and shame on you too, sir. In other news, Seattle Seahawks football player Michael Bennett is writing a book. He's calling it Things That Make White People Uncomfortable. That's kind of a hobby for a lot of people. I mean, we saw these kids. I mean, the reporter basically says it was a few kids of indeterminate race and nothing really much happened. All of a sudden, we find out it's 15 black people. All of a sudden, they've been doing it all summer and longer. All of a sudden, all the black people around town want to go, oh no, we can't be talking about that because A, that didn't happen, or B, I know you got some video, you must have made the video up. That's all they've got. I mean, they think if they raise their voices, that's kind of going to convince people like me. It's going to convince people like this Michael Nall, the father. I mean, this guy's on fire. Here's a weird postscript to this story, and this just happened like in the last 12 hours from the time I made this video. The father was very actively involved in youth sports, especially football. He was kind of a quarterback guru. He knew a lot about baseball, basketball too. His wife, I think she was from Hawaii, she passed away like 10 or 15 years ago, and the kid who got beat up was very young, maybe about 10 years ago. The father just died. I haven't been able to figure out why he died, but I will tell you this. In the last days before his death, he was spending every minute trying to track down the fellas who attacked his sons and their friends, and he promised that he was going to find them and bring them to justice. And he didn't care if every damn occupant of that public housing got angry. He didn't care if every little social justice warrior in Seattle got angry with their apologies masquerading as explanations and prescriptions for a solution. And he sure as hell didn't give a damn if the 15 kids who attacked and robbed and beat his son, he didn't give a damn if they got angry.